they kind of look relatively the same. Like the Street Glide looks like the Street Glide, the Road Glide looks like the Road Glide. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, Harley's been pretty good at doing that since like the 50s.
So what's exciting? What should anybody care about in the Harley world?
Most of the bikes pretty well stayed exactly the same, except for some notable inclusions. The Lowrider S did exist in 21, but some nice upgrades for this year. All of course, the Street Glide and Road Glide ST models.
Which where did that come from? Where did the ST model come from?
Well, they're sportier, you know. They're sport touring bikes, so it's obviously the bagger racing league is taken off a little bit, and I think that Harley notices that people are spending their money on upgrading performance as opposed to dropping their bags and putting 16-inch apes on their bikes. I think more and more people are starting to put in some effort into proper suspension and stuff like that. So Harley's noticed and wants to kind of add another bike to their stable that will give those people a good starting off point.
Because was there anything comparable to the ST that they've ever made?
Oh, ever?
Or like lately? Let's put it
probably the last thing that was even close to that would be like an XR 1200 or something from a while ago. Nothing in the bagger scene at all whatsoever was even close to the Street Glide or Road Glide ST.
Yeah, I don't associate baggers with performance.
Yeah.
Like at all. And I've seen the racing series and you see those guys, they're booking it.
Like, they're not race bikes. But it's
no.
it's the idea of taking a slow bike and riding it fast is what's fun and doing that. And the reality is over the past, a decade plus, people have been starting to lean more towards that on their non-performance bikes, making them performance. That's kind of, Harley made a lot of money putting every part of their bike black instead of chrome. And that was a really good idea and stripping weight off of it. The original Street Glide could be considered performance because that was taking your Electric Glide Classics or Limiteds and taking all the extra nonsense off of it to lighten it up, to make it look cooler, to make it slimmer and more streamlined. Now, not really lifting the suspension or doing anything fun with it, but it's still in the same vein of taking a bike that really isn't a performance bike and turning it into a performance bike. Because
the CVOs, which we've had for a while, that's pretty much just an engine package, right? And obviously it's okay. Back up. I know the paint and I know all that stuff is pretty special in a CVO. But purely performance-wise, the CVO doesn't have much better suspension than the regular bike.
No, you're
right.
It's
just an engine.
So the CVO is built in a different factory. It is built to it's less hands touch the unit. It's the cream of the crop. But not necessarily because you're not looking at it as, how much horsepower does it make? It's how limited is the paint, there's only so many. You can't buy that color of paint unless you have the VIN registered to, it's just more of like
it's custom built.
It's custom vehicle operations. It's just more of a flex kind of thing. Like, here's the best we can do in our paint. Here's the best we can do in our audio. Here's everything in a factory package. But literally, like the new ST models that came out, you can buy that exact engine in a different bike. So if you want just the performance and not the prestige, you can get that.
Which I'd rather the performance. I'd rather a bike that does what you want it to try to do than it fight you all the time. So like having the idea of a cruiser that handles, that sounds like it doesn't exist to me.
Well, it's because you haven't ridden my bike yet. I tell you, you wait and you'll see it.
Either that or I've ridden real bikes.
See that? So no, I understand all the hate that comes to the Harley. Look, there are better machines. If you want a race bike, there's race motorcycles out there that are way better at it. But it's, I'm gonna have a bike. I'm gonna have one snowboard that I can take. It's my all mountain board. I don't have to have a race one and a powder board and this, that. It's and if that's your thing, then maybe a Versus 650 is great for you.
So you mean some people have just one bike?
Yeah, unfortunately, so a lot of people do. Yeah,
who the hell is like that?
They have one, and then they make it what they want.
You mean one per garage you have?
if you have garages. But I have outdoor bikes, so my bikes live outside.
Your bikes are real. So the ST, what's special about the ST? Because that's probably the biggest thing in 2020.
So for the bagger STs, right away they come with a 117 engine, where the standard comes with a 107, the special comes with a 114, some extra features, and then you get the ST, which comes with the 117. So you're getting the biggest engine, the CVO level engine, in a non-CVO price point. You're also getting some features that would appeal to someone like me. If I was looking to buy a Street Glide Special before, I would have to change out the bags because they have the stretch bags, that sort of long and low look, which for me isn't the way I like to ride my bike. So now they do offer like, hey, cool, you don't have to buy that one, you can buy this one, which has a better engine. It has the regular suspension, not the drop suspension. It has the regular bags, so you get the lean angle. Like, oh yeah, this is what I would do to that bike anyways. So it's a great starting off point to get the most performance out of a stock bike as I can.
And it sounds to me quite a bit more rider and experience focused than looks, which traditionally Harley was and always has been and still is focused on the looks, which is good. They pull it off 90% of the time. But the driving experience is what the guy paying the dollars is gonna feel. It's
someone my age, someone in younger than the average Harley buyer, will say over the last decade, wants out of the machines. Guys that grew up riding motocross, guys that grew up riding different styles of bikes. There's still a prestige with Harley. I mean, there's still, I own multiple bikes. I thoroughly enjoy riding different bikes for different purposes, but I don't think I'll ever not own a Harley because it's, there's the aftermarket's there, everything's there, and I can just get this bike that is, I've wanted, there's guys that have wanted a Street Glide or wanted a sport, they want a Harley and they've wanted a Harley for 40 years.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not going to change that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's going to be there. I'll tell you exactly what Harley is. Harley is I can buy a Japanese guitar that plays way better than a Gibson. Gibson goes out of tune. It's annoying. It's heavy. The paint sucks, but it's still a Gibson and everyone wants one. Right? Like, it's not, you got your Fender, you got your Gibson. You can buy other stuff that's better, that's faster, that's cooler, that's pointier, but it's still not the American, what everyone's wanted for 60 years. And that's that's why they're still huge. And now that they're doing performance bikes, like, you should be stoked. It's like a good thing. Like, let them do that. This is better for everyone involved.
But they did performance bikes. Buell, the whole lineup was performance based. And the V-Rod, which was designed with Porsche, that was all performance based.
Yeah. Okay.
See, there we go.
No. The engine was performance based until that whole era. That's a whole different era, man. You got to think, like, again, everybody thinks about Harley the way, like, well, they're unreliable. I mean, well enough now to say that, like, a modern motorcycle from any manufacturer is... Yeah, the reliability is not an issue, man. Like, they're all good from any brand. They're all going to be fine.
And you see a ton of high mileage Harleys. A ton.
Yeah, and it's like... So the reliability issue aside, but back in the day, everyone thought, well, they're unreliable. It's like, well, they're made in the 70s by a bowling ball company. So yeah, they weren't the greatest, but now they're doing pretty good. But everyone seems to think from their era what the Harley meant to the era they came up with. And they're just trying to change that. And I mean, I'm not going to spend $37,000 Canadian on a ST, right? But people,
why not?
Why not? If you were going to do that to a bike anyways, if you're going to buy a $30,000 bike and throw $10,000 into it, it's a great way to start, and it gives you the options right there. It's a great engine right from the factory, 105 horsepower, 125 foot-pounds of torque.
That's it, 105?
Yeah,
that's all they got out of it.
See, right. This is the thing we're talking about. You can't hate for that's like 25 more than any Harley's ever made. So, like, besides the V-Rod, we're talking.
Well, we keep getting away from the 2022 bikes.
Right?
So we talked about the ST. So the ST is an awesome bike. It's performance. So the bike is actually, built for the driving experience for a guy who wants to push his bike a little bit more. And that might be how they're bringing the brand to try to get younger buyers. Like that bike, what you're just talking about, lights me up way more than I love the CVO paint jobs, but I don't give a crap about it because I'm going to scratch the bike. Because I'm going to drive the piss out of it. So that ST kind of lights me up more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's kind of the point. It's guys that want performance out of their bike. Again, talking performance with Harley versus another brand, it's not really the same two things, but it's better. Like they're noticing it. They've never really done that before on a bag or platform in this way. And yeah, it should light you up. I mean, you're probably not going to go buy one, but that's okay.
You'd be surprised. I'm pretty childish. I buy a lot of dumb shit.
You should.
So what else came out in 2022 that's kind of exciting?
The Lowrider ST. That's the bike that has turned some heads, mine included. So
Terry put a deposit on one the day it came out.
Well, let's not. I don't think the old lady knows that yet. So let's not. So the Lowrider ST, what the Lowrider ST is giving you is a Softail platform with the mono shock in the rear, a lighter bike than the touring bikes. Also coming with a 117. Which is in these bikes, and the Softails are fully rigid mounted versus counterbalanced and still rubber mounted in the touring platform. 100 pounds lighter than a touring bike with the same engine in it, with a fairing, which is frame mounted fairing with upside down front end, performance suspension. Now it's not adjustable for compression and preload because most people don't know how to do that. So leave well enough alone. And to be fair, they're Showa dual bedding valve forks. Like they're good. It's good suspension stock. I've been riding mine for 4 years, 40,000 K, and I haven't changed out my front suspension, which says a lot.
So it's
honestly, it's not perfect, but it's for stock, it's fantastic. An extra inch of suspension in the rear, inch of travel, lifts your end up. They've deraked it from 30 to 28 degrees. It's everything for me. I'm not a bagger guy, but I mean, holy Christmas. And that thing is $26,000. It's 10 grand less than a Road King. It's half the price of a CVO.
You almost can't afford to not buy one.
You can't. That's why I did. It
doesn't make any sense.
That's the point.
The solid mount engine is kind of, why would they bother doing that? In my opinion, like obviously their motors have quite a bit of vibration. Why would they care to solid mount the engine in that bike specifically?
Any of the new Softails from 2018 are rigid mount engines. And the reason being is obviously because it's a stress member of the frame. So compared to an old Dyna, an old Softail where you had engine mounts, and when you have a V-twin in your bike, right, it produces a forward and back motion. Well, on the rubber mount, that's where you get what's called the Harley death wobble. In conjunction with twin rear shocks, then you start going fast, and the bike, the frame twists. Now the frame doesn't twist. Now it's still I know it sounds ridiculous.
It finally doesn't twist. But so what every other brand figured out in the 90s, 30 years later, Harley caught on.
It's again, we're trying to discuss, and this is the issue. Everyone just hates. You just hating. Let him be.
It's got a rigid frame, which is good. This is a good thing.
Yeah, it's okay. I understand. It's how do you move a bike that looks arguably the same as it did in the 40s to today? Well, you still have to have an engine. You know what I mean? They're moving forward, but they're getting there slowly. And twin rear shocks on a bike, that doesn't happen on other bikes. I could
empathize with the nostalgia and the idea of an evolution. But if we look at a parallel example in the automotive world of a car that's looked the same since the 60s and 70s, you could look at the 911 Carrera. But it got stupidly better, like crazy better, and still looks like a 911. Mm-hmm. So the argument that you're trying to make it look like an old bike, therefore it's shitty like an old bike, well, it's just because they're not working with the right people.
No, I mean, I get it. The reality is it still looks like an older bike, but it definitely has gotten a lot better than before. You're the same thing, of course, but it is what it is. It's,
So the rigid mountain engine, it just, being a stress member, everything kind of fits better together. So you're not going to get any of that flex in corners. It's a lot more predictable bike to drive.
Yeah, with the mono shock in the rear, just like you'd see on modern bikes. Of course, Triumphs still have twin shocks in the rear, but it's not a performance thing. You wouldn't do that, right? But the Triumph looks like a Triumph, and could they do better? They have the same style frame. They have the same style rear suspension as Harley does.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. It looks like that way because it's supposed to look that way.
Well, and I think with the Cruiser too, you're limited on where you can put the suspension. If you're sitting someone that low, you can't shove the suspension under his ass. It's got to be somewhere else. So,
but that bike, The ST's come out with a lot of new things this year that I really didn't think that they were going to do.
Like if we give credit to Harley, I don't think anybody's doing anything exciting in cruisers except for them. Would that be a fair
Indian's doing an Indian Challenger, which is very cool with the liquid cooled engine and stuff like that. Their fit and finish is just not there yet. I mean, they just don't have the pedigree. It's just a Polaris brand. It's cool, but it's just not there.
Like the one thing that I've always thought of Harley that sets them apart easily than anybody else, they've never put fake shit on. So like for me to clarify, they've never put plastic that looks like chrome. If there's a piece of chrome on a Harley, it's a piece of chrome. So 2022 Harley, what else is exciting?
Every bike comes in black. Again, fantastic. No, the only other bike I think that really kind of is interesting, well, there's some future bikes, but realistically, obviously Lowrider ST, which is the sport touring version of the Lowrider S, but even the Lowrider S coming in at its price point, with the 117 engine, which is again the biggest engine you can get from the factory at Harley, with the lifted rear suspension, with the better, dual disc front brakes. I know that's crazy in Harley terms, but there's only a few bikes with it, so it's good. You get good braking power, ABS. My bike is from 2018 and doesn't have ABS, so that's a plus.
And it's a heavy bike, so ABS is welcome.
Yeah, well, if you don't know how to ride, then sure, but I haven't had an issue. It has the same thing as the Lowrider ST does. Obviously, it doesn't have the fairing. It doesn't have the bags. But in order to come out like that, and really, they kind of focused. They really didn't need to make that bike different. They could have just left it the exact same because it was a fantastic bike, great seller for them. But they did. They added an extra inch to the rear. They deraked it. They made it better. And you know what? They didn't really need to do that. They could have just put the same bike out again. And they kept it the same price as a ton of the other Softails that are really performance-wise not even close. Now, if you want a Fat Boy, you want a Terminator 2 bike, you're gonna buy a Fat Boy. Good, you're not gonna buy a Lowrider S. But what you're leaving on the table for performance guys is a lot. Where if that's what's cool. There's guys out there who just want to buy a Fat Boy. Friggin' rights. Let them. That's sick. And that's all they want to do is buy a Fat Boy because, Terminator 2, and it's one of the most iconic bikes of all time. But you can buy a Lowrider S, which is the same frame and a better engine and for the same price that handles better and does all this other stuff. So if that's what you're after, out of a Harley, you get it.
You're making me want to at least drive it. I want to drive it now.
You should. You should drive my bike because it's as close you're going to get.
Yeah.
From first, yeah, until these things come out. You should. I mean, you know what? If you know how to ride a bike, and you ride a Harley, I don't know the last time you rode one or what it was, but I'm not sponsored by Harley. I just own one and I like them. The new ones are night and day, man. Night and day from what they were.
Trying to think of the last Harley I rode. I think it was a Rocker C.
Oh,
which is a shitty bike.
Oh.
And
no,
it was either a Rocker C or it was a Road King, but a slammed Road King.
No, all those things are dust.
Yeah,
no,
that's my experience.
You will ride a 22. Do a first ride of a 2022, an actual nice bike, nice new Harley, compared to their brutal. I would never be caught dead on an old Softail pre-2018. They're terrible bikes for the way I like to ride. The new stuff, man, I don't think it's going to make you want to buy one, but I think you'll realize you're like, oh wow, they actually do make not race bikes, but they're definitely miles ahead of anything you've had before.
So that was the bikes that you're excited about 2022 of Harley. That it's cool. What's the duds? What did they screw up on? You got to hate on Harley a little bit here. They can't get everything right. No brand does.
No, I mean they did some weird things. They got rid of the Softail Slim, which I think was a kind of cool bike for a lot of people. Wasn't really for me, but I think it was neat. Last year they got rid of the Deluxe, which I think was a rad looking bike. The one you get the fishtails on, you do all Vickless out, like those bikes. I mean, it's a Deluxe. It's got chrome. It looks cool. But they got rid of it. But
it's a narrow niche.
But
that's probably why they got
here.
Rid of it.
It's a narrow niche. I don't really, for what they did, they really kind of tightened up their line. If anything, I see the misses, maybe the CVO line, just because I'm not into the CVO stuff. And what they haven't released yet, where they've big time missed, is the Sportsters. Once that Rev Max gets into Sportsters, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
They teased it, but they didn't announce it. And that's kind of probably, I think, where they missed the mark. But we know it's going to be coming up shortly. That'll be game changing for them, I think, big time.
And if you're curious about the Rev Max engine, we're going to talk about that in another video because it's worthy talking about. It's something pretty neat that Harley Davidson made.
Yeah, I don't think they really missed the mark. They cut some stuff out. They got rid of all their junk. And now, honestly, if you look at the bikes that they got, it's all kind of, they're A1 staple bikes. Like, it's their Heritage Classic. You know, they're coming out with these new bikes, and all the new bikes are performance. They didn't come out with a new V-Rod looking thing. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It's cool. Like, they're all everything they did is geared towards me and all my friends, which is awesome. Thanks, Harley. That's all we wanted to see was bikes for us. And that's exactly what you gave us. And some funky flames on a CVO, which wasn't for us in the first place, so don't really care. I think the 2022s are kind of hit the nail on the head as far as what I really do think that the future of Harley Davidson purchasers are going to be after, which is something more along the lines of, you know, performance-based, hard-riding product that you actually can kind of, you know, ride harder than you expect.
And that's key what you said, the next generation of Harley buyer. That is probably their biggest challenge. And if you're thinking they're addressing that, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. So that is 2022 Harley Davidson. Just a quick wrap on what you should keep your eyes on and what you should head in the showroom and check out. And as per Terry's advice, just go buy it.
Yeah, let's go buy it. One day you won't be able to. So screw it. Go buy the bike.
So I'm Jeremy. This is Terry with PinkOrange. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all the weird shit you're supposed to do, and go buy a Harley.